From medical insights to stories of recovery, join Mark Hiller as he takes a closer look at opioid addiction with a special presentation, Opioids, Crisis to Hope.
Hello and welcome to Opioids, Crisis to Hope. I'm Mark Hiller. In the next half hour, we will take a closer look at opioids. For some, they are a blessing to help with pain relief. But for others, they lead to addiction and tragically, possibly even death. But there is hope for those struggling with opioid addiction. We will explore all angles. First, we sit down with the doctor who's seen the good and bad of it all to discuss the truth about opioids. Dr. Charlie Burns has been a board-certified addiction medicine specialist since 2021. But in the 1980s, he was a urologist when prescriptions for a class of drugs called opioids began to increase to treat moderate to severe pain.
I was a surgeon, and so I was always attuned to the use of narcotics postoperatively, and we tried to be judicious with them. But none of us that performed surgery in those days were aware of just how potentially dangerous they were.
Opioids are made from the poppy plant or synthesized in a laboratory. Billed initially as a safe, effective medication with low risk of addiction, doctors would freely prescribe opioids for patients to block their pain signals between the brain and body. One particular opioid emerged as the go-to prescribed pain treatment, a time-released form of oxycodone called OxyContin.
As we progressed, we later on in the late 80s and early 90s became aware, particularly of the OxyContin beginning to be a part of our milieu. We became more aware of the possibility of people becoming addicted.
But evidence would arise that opioids were doing more than curbing pain. When misused, they were feeding into an addiction problem in society, a risk Dr. Burns says is proven to occur in at least 10% of any population.
We understand the statistics to be, if you have an addiction, there's a 60% chance that you inherited it from someone in your family. And I really believe that that's true.
It's just the way your brain's wired.
Yeah, there is no question about it.
What makes opioids so dangerous is that patients can get hooked because of the feelings of pleasure the drugs produce. And because opioids in large doses can slow down your breathing and heart rate, they could be deadly.
I hate to use the word duped, but I would say that we were greatly surprised when all of a sudden we realized that too many people were becoming addicted, and we didn't understand in the beginning the exact reason why. We now know, and the culpability is with the pharmaceutical industry, with the physicians such as myself who may have overprescribed.
Culpability also includes mass media, which was misleading information about low opioid addiction risk without proof. To be clear, opioids still have an effective role in acute pain management if patients follow their doctor's orders. The life-shattering, life-threatening problem is when patients don't.
One of the difficulties that we have is trying to determine exactly who will and what their propensity is to become addicted. It's still difficult. There's a lot of stuff that we don't understand, particularly the behavior characteristics of individual people.
Opioid use and abuse is sadly on the rise across the Commonwealth, prompting the state to take action for those seeking help. But to treat the problem effectively, more of us need to know more about substance use disorder. The Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs is doing that in a matter of minutes, thanks to a new feature. It's called JustFive, a free online tool to help enhance education and awareness about substance use disorder.
This is a great way in just 5 minutes or less to learn about what addiction is as a disease, how to recognize some signs and symptoms, and then what to do once you do recognize those signs and symptoms.
6 short learning modules featured on JustFive take just 5 minutes each to complete. DDAP Secretary Jen Smith considers it a great option for people who want high-quality information but don't have the time to dig through multiple resources about substance use disorder.
It can be helpful for people who've been exposed to it or people who really have had no exposure but are looking to understand the disease more effectively.
JustFive tackles topics including the science of addiction, are you at risk, the dangers of opioids, signs, symptoms, and treatment, how you can help, and the gift of recovery. The site also features a pre- and post-test to measure your knowledge on substance use disorder.
It is important to self-gauge, how aware are you of the facts surrounding this particular issue? And the site is completely anonymous. Nobody's collecting information about who's clicking on what buttons.
While JustFive was initially piloted in 2021 for Pennsylvania state employees, it's rolled out to the rest of the public as a tool Secretary Smith considers critical to address substance use disorder.
It's not just important for people who haven't been exposed to it. It's important for prevention efforts. It's important for individuals who are actively using substances that need to be connected to services. And it's important for the recovering community.
The Pennsylvania Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs website provides many resources. You can visit it at ddap.pa.gov or call 1-800-662-HELP. As overdoses are on the rise, a powerful tool called Narcan is saving lives. Reporter Cody Butler shares one man's story of his new lease on life and a new career helping others with addiction.
If you're using out there right now or having addiction problems, reach out for help.
Kevin Hughes counts himself lucky to be alive, overdosing on heroin not once, but 3 times. It all started with a sip of alcohol at the age of 11.
Things got really good for me in a sense. I fell in love with it, the feeling, and then I started smoking weed at 12.
OxyContin at 13. Dropping out of high school at 16 and got a job to fuel his addiction, adding cocaine to the mix.
It gradually went on to the pills weren't working. So when I was 19 or 20 years old, I got into heroin.
For the next 7 to 8 years, he ran with the drug dealers.
When the drugs called and they said jump, I said how high. There was a lot of things in my life that I've done that I regretted.
Kevin's addiction fueled his criminal behavior, robbing people to get his next high.
I tried to do everything in my power to get what I can every single day. So there was times where I wasn't able to get money and I could only shoot up once or twice.
His tolerance to drugs kept increasing.
In my addiction, tried to get the most I could out of my high.
Then Kevin overdosed.
3 times within 1 year, and I was revived by Narcan.
Kevin's story is one that shows that what they're doing is also really making a difference. And sometimes it takes a couple of times, and addiction is difficult.
Through the Lackawanna County District Attorney's Office, its Recovery Coalition, Narcan kits can be mailed anonymously. The kits include 2 doses, instructions, a hotline number, and recovery information.
We've distributed over 630 recovery kits so far. We've had 4 confirmed lives saved through that initiative as well.
The more information we can get out to the general public, the more society understands that this is a treatable condition. It's a use disorder, that with treatment, there is recovery.
For 2 decades, the county has offered Drug Treatment Court, a diversionary program to get users the help they need if they so choose.
They can avoid some of the harsh jail term associated with some of the drug offenses.
I completed the treatment court program.
Now sober since October 2017, Kevin is living a life helping others. At age 32, he's a certified recovery specialist at Geisinger Marworth Treatment Center in Waverly.
Now being able to provide that to them and show them that a former addict like I have can be successful is very inspiring to them.
A message of perseverance, hope, and help. I'm Cody Butler reporting.
Pharmacists on the front line of opioid use and abuse.
We're able to check a person's history on medication so we know what opioids they've received.
How they are stopping doctor shopping in an effort to save lives.
When I got clean and looked back, my personal war left a whole lot of casualties.
Then a jail sentence and a judge who changed one woman's addictive life and the heartfelt letters that reunited them.
Watching Opioids, Crisis to Hope.
The American Medical Association reports opioid abuse has grown into a much more complicated and deadly drug overdose epidemic. The problem, doctor shopping. The possible solution, a prescription database. Filling prescriptions for patients is an obvious part of the job for pharmacists, but in recent years that job has become more complex.
Pharmacy, it's kind of a gatekeeping role, and they play a key role.
That gatekeeping, which nationally recognized addiction specialist Dr. Drew Pinsky discussed with me, centers on preventing doctors from overprescribing powerful painkillers and patients from doctor shopping to get more of the medication than they should. A lack of gatekeeping can have tragic consequences.
Opiate addiction and substance use disorders are progressive illnesses that frequently end in death.
One of the safeguards Harold's pharmacy owner Bruce Lefkowitz uses is an electronic database called a prescription drug monitoring program.
We're able to check a person's history on medication so we know what opioids they've received.
He also says many narcotic prescriptions are electronically received, which helps improve his pharmacy's monitoring system.
We're more able to see what is being prescribed. We're able to check a person's history and then go from there and alert the doctor if there's a problem.
The job experience Lefkowitz passes on to pharmacy interns includes the importance of medication therapy management, that face-to-face interaction between pharmacist and patient.
Discussing their medications and educating them on the correct use of those medications, I think we could see numbers drastically decrease on misuse.
Lefkowitz says his pharmacy's drug disposal container gets used several times a day. He and his staff consider it another key to help reverse the growing trend of the opioid crisis during the COVID crisis.
Hopefully, once we control the pandemic as we are right now, we can kind of combat that issue and help those people that need it.
The opioid crisis has taken the lives of hundreds of thousands of people across the nation and here in Pennsylvania. Reporter Nicole Rogers shares one woman's story of how a prison sentence saved her life years ago and what happened when she and the judge who sentenced her reunited for our program.
I'd say, why can't I stay clean? 70s it was crank, 80s it was coke and crack, 90s I found the heroin. This is from the past, from 3 years ago.
Kathy Risner started smoking cigarettes at 8 years old. By the age of 14, she was an IV drug user.
When I got clean and looked back, my personal war left a whole lot of casualties. There was bodies strewn everywhere, like the hurt and pain, because it's my family, good friends.
She struggled with substance abuse for decades, until she came face to face with Judge Michael Barace.
Judge Barace, I always said, had jokes, because I said, oh great, I'll make 3 release. I went from one long-term back-to-back rehab to another long-term back-to-back rehab to a center. I thought, this man is trying to kill me. But this man, he knew what he was doing. He knew that if he sat me down long enough, because here I am, Your Honor, I realize I'm in a fight for my life.
Years later, she's back in the very same courtroom reading the many letters she sent to Judge Barace from prison. He kept every single one.
I said, I've been doing a life sentence with this disease, and in turn I lost a piece of my heart and my soul.
Now, she's coming face to face with him again, but this time to say thank you.
You showed me compassion and said, listen, you're not doing this up here. Go sit down, go sit down. And I did.
Well,
and it saved my life.
I'm very happy for you.
Here I am.
You don't necessarily see it every day, but that person that's using every day is dying. And fortunately for us, all of a sudden we see someone like Kathy coming back in. It's like coming back to life.
If you're still breathing, there's hope. If you're still breathing, there's hope. If you hang on, just hang on. Them bad times will pass. Them urges to use will pass. Just hang on, there's hope, there's hope.
I'm Nicole Rogers, reporting.
We hope Kathy Risner's story inspires those looking to take the first steps toward recovery.
They have helped me with my daughter. They've helped me get to appointments. They have helped me in so many ways.
Help is available. We will have more about this coming up on Opioids, Crisis to Hope.
You're watching Opioids, Crisis to Hope.
Raising awareness and making a difference in our community. That's what students at Wilkes University in Wilkes-Barre set out to do in bringing awareness to opioid use and abuse. Reporter Julie Dunphy takes us on campus as students walk to save lives.
We're just hoping to save lives because naloxone does save lives.
The opioid epidemic affects every walk of life. Each step taken to bring awareness to the impact opioid use disorder can have on someone's life.
One of our goals is just to increase awareness about substance use disorder, and we thought the best way to do it would be with a walk.
Organizers Bryce Yencha and Jamie Sayre are both in their 4th year of pharmacy school as colonels, with 2 more years to go.
As a pharmacist, you're there to help people and help your patients, so it's really important to be knowledgeable about all types of medications and so that we can best help our patients.
The two collected more than $100 worth of donations. The money raised goes to purchase naloxone for the Wilkes-Barre Fire Department. Wilkes-Barre Fire Chief Jay Delaney walked beside the students, moved by their motivation.
I think they're letting their actions speak louder than words.
Chief Delaney says a partnership with the university started almost 10 years ago. Operation Substance Use Disorder.
They understand what opioids have done to the community, and they've really stepped up to try to make things better.
Last year, the Wilkes-Barre Fire Department and EMS administered about 259 doses of naloxone. Those in need of the life-saving medication cover all demographics, young and old. Chief Delaney says, thankfully, the city has seen a drop in prescription opioids and overdoses.
But the fentanyl and what the fentanyl is laced with continue to cause us real issues.
The fight to save lives remains, even when the drug of choice changes. I'm Julie Dunphy reporting.
In the past 6 years, Wilkes-Barre Fire Department has administered more than 1,500 doses of naloxone. Wilkes University in Wilkes-Barre recently hosted a pain and addiction summit. The event focused on equitable access to health care. It comes as the opioid epidemic continues in Pennsylvania. Medical, legal, and law enforcement professionals discuss the current state of the opioid crisis and how to approach treatment of pain and substance abuse. One of the main topics was syringe services programs.
Not only are we trying to save lives, but we also want to make sure that we give people access to treatment. And we know that individuals who use these services are 5 times more likely to access treatment.
I once again had the honor to serve as a moderator for the event, now in its 4th year. There is hope for overcoming opioid addiction. There's a number of agencies offering help. We take a look at taking the first step to an opioid-free life next.
You're watching Opioids, Crisis to Hope.
For those looking to take that first step to recovery, there are many avenues for help. One such option is the Wright Center for Community Health, a Pennsylvania-designated opioid use disorder center of excellence.
The past is the past. We all have to learn from the past and move on.
Yeah.
As an addiction medicine specialist for the Wright Center for Community Health, Dr. Charlie Burns helps patients one-on-one conquer their opioid use disorder.
I was a mess when I came here 2 years ago.
41-year-old Charlene Yergatis sought out Dr. Burns in 2020 to help conquer her addiction to opioids. Her recovery program includes what's called medication-assisted treatment, like the injectable Sublocade given once a month, or the daily oral treatment Suboxone.
It takes the cravings away. It helps you get up in the morning.
And it's been an invaluable help to people who are trying to recover from addiction.
How's your recovery going?
Amazing.
Medication-assisted treatment is also offered to female patients participating in the Wright Center's Healthy Moms program. MOMS is an acronym for Maternal Opiate Medical Support. Think of it as a program to help new moms with substance use disorder meet health, financial, legal, and personal needs. It's meant everything to Brittany Bainbridge and her 2-year-old daughter, Leona. Bainbridge is now 3 years sober.
They have helped me with my daughter. They've helped me get to appointments. They have helped me in so many ways.
I'm very proud of that program.
The Wright Center's Director of Addiction Services, Maria Colcharno, oversees the program designed to help fill what's often been a void in addiction services.
These mothers go untreated, not given the real service piece that they really do require in order to raise a healthy baby and maintain their lifestyle of sobriety.
Treatment options like this are proving successful, but
addiction, in my world, we have to treat it like a chronic condition.
To go from crisis to hope, the Wright Center's Associate Vice President of Primary and Recovery Services Integration says it takes an all-hands-on-deck approach.
It can't be just on the medical profession. It can't just be on law enforcement. It can't just be on the treatment providers. Everybody has to come together as one united front and work together and communicate the problems and the successes to move forward.
We have much more information on recovery programs on our website. Thank you for joining us for Opioids, Crisis to Hope. I'm Mark Hiller.